Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to the Mentorship Corner. My name is Sibiya Nomthandazo. If you are joining us for the first time, please click the subscribe button down below to join the Mentorship Corner family. To my Mentorship Corner family, welcome back guys. Welcome back to another video where we are all going to learn and grow together. On today's video, we are going to be talking about something very close to my heart. Something that I'm also going through at the moment. We're going to be talking about healing and learning to let go from loss. Like after you've lost a loved one, it could be through death, where unfortunately they've passed on, or it could be like you're going through a divorce, or you're going through like a really tough breakup in your life. So we're going to talk about different stages of grief. I'll share some of my experiences, and I'll be sharing some of the tips that have helped me to navigate the healing process better, navigate the grieving process a little bit better in my life. So before we start with the video, I just want to say that I'm sending some love and light to everyone who is currently navigating loss, who is currently navigating grief. I want you to know that you are not alone. We all go through it. And just be patient with yourself and allow yourself to feel and know that your feelings are important, your feelings are valid, and whatever it is that you are trying to navigate in terms of loss and grief, you're not alone. Don't forget to lean onto your family and friends so that you've got the support that you need, and of course lean onto your higher power. It could be visiting church more often, it could be going to the church counseling, or whatever the case may be. Don't forget to lean on the people around you for support so that you don't do it alone, because it's going to be very difficult if you're doing it only on your own. This video is going to be divided into about 4 parts. The first part is basically understanding your grief. On this part, we're going to be discussing the 7 stages of grief that we go through. Some of us don't go through all of them. Some of us don't go through them in this particular order, but these are the 7 stages of grief. So we're going to discuss that. The second part is going to be me sharing some practical tips that I have used over the years as well to navigate grief and to navigate healing a little bit better. Third part is basically honoring your loved ones. Just because they are gone, it doesn't mean that you need to completely forget about them, which is it's highly impossible. So instead of only dwelling on the painful parts of their lives, I'm going to share with you guys some of the things that you can do in order to celebrate them and to honor their life, and to celebrate the beautiful life that they had lived. And then the fourth part is finding support and learning to embrace change. Throughout your healing process, your grieving process, you must always know that finding support and showing and allowing yourself to go through the process and learn to let go and embrace the new change, which is your life without the person anymore, is something very, very crucial, something very, very important in order for you to continue to grow, in order for you to continue to be and to live your most intentional life. And then I'll just share a few words in conclusion, and also to summarize this whole discussion. So grab your pen and paper, go get a cup of coffee or like a cup of tea or like cold drink, whatever it is that you want to enjoy while we are having this conversation together. Firstly, before we start discussing the first section of this conversation, I just want to share with you guys a story, just my experience with grief, so that one, you can understand that you are really not the only one. Two, you can understand that I'm not sharing this video, this topic specifically just because I googled it. Fine, I did do research, but most of it is because of the experience that I have had with grief and with losing a loved one. So just like a quick background story, I have lost about 4 people. Yeah, I've lost 4 people in my life in the past year, and I think 2 to 3 months. And the loss is not just people leaving my life, but it's actually 4 people who have passed on in my life. I have lost 2 grandparents, my grandmother, my grandfather, and then I've lost an uncle, and then the most recent and the most painful of them all, I lost like my second mother. She was my mom's really close friend, and she was like a really like, she was literally was like my second mom. Like, we were very close. So the first one was my grandmother. When I lost my grandmother, I still remember this so well. Like, I lost her during the excitement of moving back to KZN, because one of the reasons why I was actually very excited to move back to KZN was because I was going to be closer to my family, and specifically my grandparents, and I wanted to be able to spend more time with them because they are a lot older. So what happened was, I think the last week of March, the last 2 weeks of March, I got a call from my cousin, and she just told me that our grandmother has passed on because she wasn't well. So obviously, like, we were like, okay, fine, she is resting, but it still hurt like hell. And I remember it took away like so much of my excitement of coming back to KZN, because I was just like so devastated by the fact that the first thing that I'm gonna have to do when I come back to KZN is attend a funeral. I'm not even having maybe a bride with my family to welcome me back to the province again and whatever. No, I actually have to get to KZN as soon as possible, get my stuff fixed, and prepare to go and attend my grandmother's funeral. And I remember so well, like, I drove down, I went to Durban. I think I slept at a friend's place, and then I drove down to Potchefstroom to try and find a place for me to stay. I found a place, paid my deposit for the place. I left the stuff that was in my car that I was not going to need for the weekend, and I made sure that my stuff was going to be delivered at a friend's house in Durban. Then I literally just like had to rush back home to help with the preparations for the funeral and to actually attend the funeral. And the first 3 deaths, which was my grandmother, my grandfather, and my uncle, were very sad. I'm still learning to heal from the whole experience and from the whole loss, but with them it was a matter of, I really wanted to attend the funeral to actually believe that they were really gone. Like, when I attended the funeral, then it only sank into me to say, okay, fine, they are gone. Now it's like time for me to try and figure out life and navigate life without them. Granted, I've never went back to any of their homes after the funeral because I'm just not ready to confront the fact that this is my first visit after the funeral and they're not there. Like, I'm still not in a good space to accept that properly. I'm still working on it. But with the last person, which was my second mom, with her, I was so numb and so in denial that I didn't want to attend a memorial service. So I didn't go for the memorial service, and I didn't want to attend the funeral either. So I didn't go to the funeral. And it's only now that the numbness is starting to get a little bit better. And now it's the pain. It's the pain of, damn, she really is gone. Like, if I'm going through a tough time in life, I don't really have a second parent to go to. You know, I've just got my parents. I don't really have that third party person who's always very objective, who I can go to seek advice, who I can go to just to offload some of the things that I'm going through, and who I can go to brainstorm some of my ideas anymore. And yeah, like, it's only now that I'm actually even able to cry about it and say, okay, you know what, you are allowed to feel the pain now, and it's okay if you cry about it. And some days I just sit in my bed and I just grab some tissue and I just allow myself to break down. And it's only now that I'm able to start speaking about the loss with my parents a little bit more openly, with my partner and my friends. Before, I just didn't talk about it, and before I didn't tell anyone because I was so in denial that I just didn't want to believe it. And I think before the year ends, I will hopefully be brave enough to at least visit her grave, and maybe share some last words with her. I've written some letters to her on my journals. I haven't texted or called her number, so I'm grateful for that. But I've written a few letters to her and all of that. And yeah, I'm still learning to process the whole situation, and I'm still learning to allow myself to just feel. I'm just at a point where I'm allowing myself to just feel. If it's pain that I'm feeling, I'm allowing myself to feel the pain. If it's a bit of anger that I'm feeling, I'm allowing myself to feel the anger. And I journal about it as much as possible so that I can offload it from my system and just allow myself to feel and to converse, and also to just open myself up to actually start speaking to other people about it in order to aid in my healing process. So yeah, I just wanted to share my experience so that you guys can understand that we really all go through loss, and it sucks. Like, it really sucks. Like, it really sucks. Like, some days I wake up and I'm like, oh gosh, please tell me that, like, I'm gonna get a call from her or a text, like shouting at me for not responding to her text, or not texting her in a week or like 2 weeks, but I don't. And the longer I don't, the more I just realize that she really is gone. And the more I realize that, you know, sometimes we just gotta celebrate the life that they had, you know, savor the lessons that we learned from them, and just like keep memories of the experiences that we shared with the people that we loved that we no longer have in our lives. The first thing that you need to do to understand your grief is basically to normalize your feelings. I need you to learn to normalize any feeling that you feel towards the whole losing someone process for you, to the whole grieving process, no matter how raw it is. If it feels like you just want to break down, allow yourself the space for that, and allow yourself the grace for that. And if you feel like screaming, scream. If you feel like shutting people out, unfortunately at some point you do have to shut people out and spend some time in solitude to figure things out on your own, in your own terms, in your own pace. Do that for you, because that's what's going to help you with your healing process. With that said, I know that there's generally about 5 stages of grief that we all know, but today I'm going to be sharing with you guys the 7 stages of grief that we all go through, that help us to navigate our healing process. The first one is basically your shock and denial. That's the one I was stuck in for so long. I think it's been a month and a couple of weeks, and I was still there. Like, it's only, I think, last week where I moved to where I was just angry and I was just like in so much of pain. So the first one is basically when you had just received the news and you're still in like a state of shock. You are not believing what's happening, and you basically sometimes go into a denial phase where you just don't believe it. You're like, it's impossible, it's not happening, that's that. And that's what caused me to not attend the funeral, because I was like, no, she's still alive, she's still very much alive, I can still call her. And no, I do not believe that she's gone. And normally in that stage you are associated with a lot of numbness feeling, where you just feel numb. There's just no feelings. You just, even like the way you approach life is just numb. Like you're just not excited about anything in life. You are not sad about anything in life. You're just going through life with just this numb feeling. Allow yourself to go through that. Allow yourself to go through that stage. And you'll eventually get better, and you'll eventually reach your next stage of grief. The second one is basically your pain and guilt. This is when you go through the pain emotions, basically, where you will do your breakdowns, where you just cry and you shout at people and all of that. And some people go through guilt, where they blame themselves for the inevitable. Like, you blame yourselves for going through a divorce, even though you know that probably your partner cheated and you didn't do anything. You blame yourself for someone, a loved one who has now passed away, even though you know that there was really nothing you could have done. The bottom line is things happen for a reason, and unfortunately sometimes we don't know what the reason is, but things will still happen, so you will still lose that person. So allow yourself to again feel the pain, and don't bask too much in the guilt. Try to keep a positive attitude towards that, but allow yourself to go through that stage so that you will basically eventually get better. The next stage, which is the third one, is your anger and bargaining. This is when you are just angry. You could be angry at yourself, you could be angry at the world, you could be angry at God, you could be angry at the person who left you and the person who passed away. I remember this one time in my life where a friend of mine committed suicide, and I was angry. First, I was angry at him for the longest time because I felt like he didn't open up enough for me to be able to assist him where I possibly maybe would have. But eventually I accepted that, you know what, I was not him, I was not living his life. So I may be angry because I don't know what exactly was happening in his mind, but I can't stay angry at him forever because he knows all the pain he was going through, all the abuse and everything, and the depression and the anxiety and even the stress that he was going through. I don't. So eventually I let it go. But then unfortunately, when I let it go, I became angry at myself because I was like, you were his friend. Why didn't you pick up that something was wrong? Why didn't you call him often to check if he was doing better? Why did you just believe him when he told you that he was getting better instead of checking up on him and going to see him? So it was like so much of anger that I eventually sought professional help because I could feel that I'm holding onto so much anger and I'm not allowing this phase to pass, because it took like a couple of months of my life, and I was like, okay, fine, maybe it's time that I actually went and saw my therapist and just have a vent and find a way to work around it that would be a little bit more healthier for me and the people around me, because I was also starting to become a very grumpy person. So allow yourself to go through it, but don't hog onto it. Like, don't hold on to it for too long, because unfortunately you end up becoming bad company to yourself and also bad company to people around you. The next one is your depression. Your depression is basically that stage where you go through it. It's like it gets so dark, but you start seeing a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel. So allow yourself again to go through that stage where you just like, okay, fine, it's terrible, it's miserable, and life is never going to be the same, and life is always going to be bad. Go through your roller coaster emotions. Allow yourself to feel. Journal about it if you want to journal. Do a recording of yourself about your emotions if you want to do that. Go see a therapist if you feel you need to see a therapist. Cry in the arms of your loved ones if that's going to give you comfort. Whatever it is, do that and allow yourself to go through that stage. The next one is the upward turn. This is the stage where you have went through the anger and the pain and the depression, and now you're starting to try and learn to like accept that they are no longer there, and now you're trying to see life in a different light, in a different perspective. And that's what leads to the next step, which is the reconstruction and basically working through the loss. This is when you are now starting to bring a little bit of pieces of your life back together to try and start building routines, and start building a life without the person anymore. It doesn't mean that you will forget about them altogether, but this is the time in your life where you are starting to accept that they are really gone, and now it's time for you to try and put your life back together and to continue living your life. And then the last one is basically acceptance and hope. I love the hope aspect of it, because once you've accepted that the person is no longer there, you need to have the hope that you will still be able to live a fulfilling life, a purposeful life, an intentional life, even though they are not there. No matter how close you guys were, no matter how much they contributed into your life and your growth, but you must have the hope that eventually it will get better, eventually life will get better, and eventually your life will work out for the better after the whole process has continued. The one thing I want you to remember is that not all of us go through the stages of grief 1 and 2. You may not go through the stages of grief in this particular order, because grief is very personal and it's very individualized. The way I grieve and the way you grieve me are like two different things, because the way I do things and the way you do things are different. The way we see things, our perspective is different. The environment that we're in is different. Our mental capacity is different. So a lot of things contribute to you going through your grieving and your healing process. So allow yourself the grace to do it in your own pace, in your own time, in your own space, but don't shut people out for too long, because now and then you will need to lean onto someone for support. So don't shut people out for too long. Be in solitude, yes, but don't shut people out completely, where you become really bad company, or you just are so isolated and you're so lonely that you feel like you are just crumbling and you are not going anywhere and you are not getting better. So please just allow yourself to go through the journey, allow yourself to go through the stages, and yeah, as I said, do not shut people out. I have put together some practical tips that you can try today at the comfort of your own home, and some of them require you to actually seek professional help, but it's about 6 of them that I've noted down here that will help you with your healing process and navigating grief, and basically also learning to let go. So the first one is allowing yourself to feel. I cannot stress this enough. Once you've went through the numb process, the shock stage where you were just not feeling anything, allow yourself to feel your feelings. They will be very raw, and sometimes in as much as I journal very often, sometimes I was just not brave enough and not courageous enough to pick up my pen and my journal and to write my raw emotions and my raw feelings. And sometimes I just wasn't really open to speaking to someone about my raw feelings, but I did allow myself to feel them. So allow yourself to feel all of the emotions and all of the feelings, even if it means spending time alone. Do just that and acknowledge your feelings in order to reach your level of acceptance, that acceptance stage. The second one is seek professional help when you feel that you need to. And sometimes we feel that we don't, but people around us will see, will say, okay, fine, no, this is not really working on with her or him doing it on their own. They do need some professional help. Allow them to take you there. It may not be easy, trust me, but allow them to help you. Allow your people around you, if they say they think that you should seek professional help and they're willing to go with you, allow them to do that with you so that you get the help that you need. Because sometimes we go through like grief differently, yes, but sometimes we go through this dark stage in our lives and we don't see it because we are in it, and the people around us see it and they see that we are actually heading for destruction and you're not really doing like healing in a healthy way and healing in a way that's going to help us to basically get out of, you know, the slump and actually be better and continue living our life. So allow them to help you. The third one is share your journey with your family and friends. As I said, like finding a good support. It could be from your friends, your partner, your family, whoever it is that just allows you to vent if you need to vent, allows you to cry if you need to cry, allow you to just like talk about the person if you want to talk about the person. Allow yourself that and share. You be open to people helping you, your family and your friends, and your spouse, and basically your therapist, whatever the case may be. The fourth one is if you need to build new routines without the person you lost, accept that you have to do it. If for example you lost a partner and you guys used to maybe go to gym together, or like used to journal together or read together or travel together, now they're gone. Unfortunately, they're not going to come back. So allow yourself to build new routines without them. It's not saying that you're erasing them in your life, but you're trying to continue with your life without the person. The second one is practice self-care. In most cases, this happens even when you're not going through grief, even when you're just having like a busy season in your life, you forget about self-care. It happens a lot more when you're going through grief, because sometimes you will stress eat, sometimes you will do something unhealthy just because you're under like a lot of stress and you are quite sad and emotionally you're just not in a good space. Allow yourself days where you're like, okay, fine, today I am gonna eat healthy, today I'm gonna treat my body well, today I'm gonna take care of myself. Maybe you can go for a spa date, maybe you can go for a therapy session, maybe you can go for a solo date, maybe you can go for a date with friends, maybe you can just have a day at home where you're cooking yourself a good meal, you do your facial, your face mask, and you read a book or you journal, whatever it is, whatever self-care looks like for you. Practice self-care, practice that, practice. And the last one is basically journal your feelings. Could be in terms of having a physical journal where you write down your feelings from time to time, or it could be recording. Like one of my friends, she actually records herself like speaking, like the phone recording. She actually records herself and just going through something, and then she goes back to listen to the recording to understand her emotions and her feeling, and then she reflects on it. It's the same as journaling. The only difference is that you're recording it over like a voice recorded app, but write down your feelings. And as I said, sometimes there's days where it's so raw that you don't want to write it down, but that's actually also like good days for you to actually note it down, because when you go back to your journal to reflect, you'll be able to actually know how you felt at that particular time, and it's going to help you with your healing process. The last part of our conversation is basically finding support and embracing change. Under here, I've got about 3 to 4 things that I'm going to discuss with you guys. The first one is what I've been emphasizing, support. So connect with your family and friends and don't shut them out, because you will need them for the emotional support as you navigate your healing process. The next one is basically check out some online platforms or check out support groups around your area if that's going to be something that you would prefer, instead of always sharing with your family and friends. Then do that, because sometimes, unfortunately, we always feel like we are being a burden to other people's lives, and we are putting their lives on pause just because we are going through something. So if you feel like, okay, fine, I feel like I'm being a bit of a burden, then there are online platforms where you can seek counseling or seek like be in a support group, or like you can go to a physical one where you attend a support group and you share your feelings, and you also just get to see what other people are going through and how they are overcoming it. Then you can learn from that. The next one is basically don't be afraid to seek professional help and professional support, and that's in the sense of therapy and counseling. I said before, like sometimes we don't see it, but our family sees it, our partner sees it, our friends see it, and when they do offer that we go for therapy, sometimes just go for that one session and see how it feels. Don't completely shut them out, and don't completely just tell them that they're not being supportive or they're judging you or whatever the case may be. And the last thing I want to share is that I'm just going to read it off here. It says, just like the last stage of grief, learn to accept and let go and embrace the change in your life. Remember, letting go doesn't mean you will forget the person. Their memories and lessons will always live in our lives and in our hearts. However, you embracing a new life or a different life where they are no longer there, it doesn't really mean Uguti you are forgetting about them. It just means that you are now learning to accept and you're learning to let go, and you're willing to live a different life. You're willing to lead a new life where they no longer exist, and that's okay. You know, like that's okay. That's why you go through the healing process. It's just like seasons. Like it's a season you went through. Now that it's over, it's time for you to embrace change and to move on with your life and to continue living your purposeful, intentional, happy life that you had even when you had them in your life, right? The last thing I want to say is just that two things. Healing takes time. Allow yourself the time and the grace. I'm going to read that again. Allow yourself the time and have grace with yourself throughout the whole process. It takes time. I may take 2 months to go through my healing process. It may take you years. It may take you 2 years. It may take you 3 years. It may take you 6 months. Allow yourself the time. Remember that you must allow yourself to feel and have grace with yourself. You know, like how you have grace with your friends when they're going through a rough patch and you're always there for them, you're always there to support them. Have grace with yourself. Be just as lenient with yourself. Be just as loving with yourself. Be just as caring with yourself. The last thing I want to say is that remember that your feelings are valid. Allow yourself to feel in order to heal. And if it means you want to express those feelings through journaling, doing a recording, speaking to a family member or a friend or a partner, speaking to a therapist, or just spending some time in solitude, allow yourself to feel so that you can heal. I love you guys absolutely lot. Please subscribe to the channel so that you can learn and grow together. Please like this video if you found it very helpful, and share with your family and friends if you feel like they could benefit from this video. In closing, I just want to say that you are not alone. I'm still navigating loss. I'm literally at the stage of pain and guilt where I'm in so much of pain, and I'm now low-key having guilt that I didn't go to the funeral, and I'm like, maybe I would have been able to pay my last respects. But I made a vow to myself that once I am ready, I am going to go and visit her grave and just have a conversation with her. In the meantime, I'm going to keep writing her letters through my journals, and I'm going to keep journaling about my feelings. And should I feel like I need to see a therapist again, I will gladly pick up the call and make the booking and go and see my therapist. Yeah, I love you guys absolutely a lot. Bye guys.